In a dense forest, where the sunlight barely pierced through the thick canopy, a man walked cautiously along a narrow and winding path. The forest was alive with the sounds of rustling leaves, distant bird calls, and the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. The air was humid, rich with the scent of earth and growing things, and the man carried a heavy burden, a large bag slung over his back. He was on a mission, one that had filled him with both hope and urgency. He was seeking out a shaman, a mystic known far and wide for his remarkable healing abilities. The man had heard that the shaman could cure any ailment, no matter how severe, and his own affliction had driven him to travel great distances to find him. He walked deeper into the forest, his mind racing with thoughts of healing, of the pain he had suffered for so long, and of the new life he hoped to begin. He had heard rumors of the shaman's power, stories that promised miracles, of a man who could mend broken bodies and broken hearts alike. Yet, as he ventured deeper into the woods, his excitement began to turn into anxiety. The dense trees and tangled underbrush seemed to close in around him, and the path became increasingly unclear. With each step, his mind began to wander, and soon he found himself filled with doubt. Was the shaman really out there, as the story said? Would he truly be able to heal him? As he walked, lost in thought, the man came upon a serene sight. Sitting by the side of the path, completely still, was a monk. The monk's eyes were closed, his posture upright and unyielding, his hands resting gently in his lap. His presence was calm, and the air around him seemed to shimmer with a quiet peace. The man stopped, unsure of how to approach him. He had heard of monks before, but never had he met one so deep in meditation. "Excuse me, sir," the man called out, his voice hesitant. "Do you know where I can find the shaman who lives in these woods?" The monk slowly opened his eyes, his gaze soft but penetrating. He studied the man for a long moment, as though looking beyond the surface of his words and into his very soul. "The shaman you seek is not far," the monk said in a voice that was as deep and steady as the earth itself. "But be cautious. There is a tiger in these woods, fierce and unpredictable. It is wise to keep your guard up." The man nodded, grateful for the guidance, but also intrigued. A tiger? He had heard nothing about such a creature in the tales of the shaman's healing. "Thank you, sir," he said, though he couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervousness at the thought of encountering such a beast. "May you be safe on your journey," the monk added, closing his eyes once more and returning to his meditation. The man continued down the path, his mind now filled with images of the tiger. Every rustling leaf, every snapping twig, seemed to bring him closer to danger. He tightened his grip on his bag, filled with the offering he hoped would secure the shaman's aid, an offering of meat that he had brought along as a token of respect. But as the hours passed, and the sun began to dip lower in the sky, he arrived at a clearing. There, sitting on a flat rock in the middle of the open space, was the shaman. The man had no doubt it was him. The presence was undeniable. The shaman looked up as he approached, his eyes sparkling with wisdom and kindness. "You have come far, my friend," the shaman said, his voice smooth and welcoming. "What brings you to this forest?" The man, eager to find relief from his suffering, quickly explained his condition, his pain, his frustration, and his hope that the shaman could help him. The shaman nodded silently, understanding the man's plight. "Rest here," the shaman said, gesturing to a nearby rock. "We will begin the healing." Just as the man sat down, however, a low growl filled the air. The sound sent a shock of terror through him, and his eyes darted around, searching for the source of the noise. A moment later, the bushes near the edge of the clearing rustled violently. And then, out of the shadows, stepped the tiger, its eyes locked onto the man. The tiger's massive form was sleek and powerful, its muscles rippling beneath its striped coat. It moved slowly at first, stalking the man with a quiet menace. The man's heart raced. Fear surged through him. Without thinking, he leapt to his feet and ran, his bag flapping behind him as he fled down the path. The sound of the tiger's growl echoed in his ears, and his breath came in sharp, panicked gasps. But then, something unexpected happened. The shaman, who had remained calm throughout the encounter, rose from his seat with surprising speed. He watched the man flee, his eyes filled with understanding. The shaman knew something the man did not. As the man stumbled down the path, still running for his life, the shaman called out to him, his voice calm and unwavering. "The tiger is not after you." The man, still filled with terror, could hardly believe what he was hearing. He stopped in his tracks, breathless and confused. "The tiger," the man gasped, still trembling. "The tiger was coming for me. I saw it. It was about to pounce." The shaman smiled softly, his eyes twinkling with gentle amusement. "The tiger was not after you at all." The man turned, still not understanding. The shaman walked over to where the man had dropped his bag in his flight. The bag, which had fallen to the ground in the chaos, was now surrounded by the tiger. But the shaman didn't seem concerned. Instead, he reached down, pulled the bag up, and threw it toward the tiger. In a flash, the tiger leaped forward, its powerful jaws snapping around the bag. It wasn't the man it wanted at all. It was the meat inside the bag. The man's offering, the very thing he had carried with him for so long, was the object of the tiger's interest. The man stood frozen, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He had feared for his life, had assumed that the tiger was out to harm him, but in reality, the danger had been nothing more than a misunderstanding. The tiger had never been interested in him. It only wanted the food he had carried. The shaman turned to the man, his expression calm and knowing. "You see," he said, "the tiger was never after you. Your fear led you to believe something that wasn't true. Fear clouds our perceptions, and when we act out of fear, we can easily misunderstand the world around us." The man stood there, stunned. His body still trembled with adrenaline, but his mind was beginning to settle. The shaman's words resonated deeply within him, and he realized something important. It wasn't the tiger that had been the problem, it was his own fear, his own assumptions, that had caused him to react in such a way. "The world is not as we see it, but as we interpret it," the shaman continued, his voice full of gentle wisdom. "We filter our experiences through the lens of our own fears, beliefs, and expectations. Only when we let go of these can we truly see things as they are." The man felt a deep sense of clarity wash over him. His fear had not only clouded his perception of the tiger, it had clouded his entire journey. It had made him doubt the shaman, doubt his own ability to find peace. The shaman smiled at him, the light of understanding shining in his eyes. "Now, you are ready to receive the healing you seek," he said. As the man sat down once more, his heart filled with newfound peace. He realized that the greatest healing was not just physical, it was mental and emotional. By letting go of fear, by shedding preconceived notions, and by choosing to see the world with compassion, he had unlocked a deeper level of healing. He understood that his journey was not just about finding a shaman in the woods, but about finding clarity within himself. His perception of the tiger, of the forest, and even of his own suffering had been transformed. He was no longer a victim of his fears, he was a participant in his own healing. With the tiger no longer a threat, with his bag and his offering returned, and with a heart full of gratitude, the man left the forest with a renewed sense of peace. He knew that his life had been forever changed by the lessons he had learned on this journey, the lesson that fear distorts reality, and that compassion and understanding were the keys to seeing the world as it truly was. And so, as the man walked back through the forest, he carried with him not just the knowledge of the shaman's healing powers, but the wisdom of the tiger, the monk, and the shaman, to live without fear, to perceive the world with clarity, and to act with compassion. The life he sought was not far, after all. It was within him all along.